Okay, so good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to this session on, inside the mind of a winning case candidate. What we are going to do is we are going to go through a case to demonstrate this point that how do you think in a case, how good candidate or winning candidate, so to speak, think in case study. So my name is Alok, and I am Bangalore alumnus, and I have mentored more than 4,000, 5,000 students and working professionals. I would have invariably asked a lot of case studies to them, and I could really differentiate between what could be a good case solution by a candidate versus what may not be a good case solution, right? So I'll try to share my experience, and I'm trying to share this experience with the help of a case which is pretty, I would say, useful for you, very relevant for you today, in today's mind, in today's world, which is based on how do you develop, how does a company establish a data center at one location. That's a very common, I would say, relevant or contemporary case which I want to discuss. With that case, I would like to showcase you what could be a good approach to solve this case and how good candidates think about it. So that's the idea about this particular case. Okay. Now, hope you can see my screen. So now let's start with the case only. So the case is like this, that there is a company, right? CloudNova. You can consider it like AWS or Google or whatever it is, or Azure or Microsoft, and which is a global cloud provider and which is considering building a $2 billion AI optimized data center in Latin America to serve growing AI workload in Latin America. So basically, the idea is a lot of companies you might have heard that they are building their, setting up their AI data centers. In fact, one of the company has also promised to set up a data center in India, Hyderabad regions, or I think AP regions also, right, or Telangana region. I'm not sure the exact location, but yeah. So that's the case, right? Now the CEO want to ask from you that should we proceed with that investment? Should we invest this $2 billion? If yes, how should we structure it? What should we do? What should we analyze to 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 decide whether to invest on this $2 billion data center or not? So that's the question. Before proceeding, right? Before proceeding, I would like from you guys, let's say, as soon as this problem is given to you, what would be your first reaction? What will you do in a case interview? What will be your instinct? What exactly will you do in this case? The case is given to you like this. Okay, okay, your client is da, 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 da. Now you have to react to it. What will be your first reaction, or what will you do? You can unmute yourself and tell, or you can put it in the chat. Anyone? You can put it in the chat. No worries. There's no right or wrong answer. That's the beauty of this. Another point, till the time you type or think, there is no such thing that I don't know the domain or I don't know the industry, so I don't know how to solve this case. You can be asked any case from any industry in any domain, because the objective of these cases is not to understand your industry or domain knowledge, but to understand your problem solving skills, your communication in that problem solving skill, your confidence in this problem solving skill. How do you ask question? How do you approach the case is very much important in a case. So don't worry if you don't know much about data center, right? What will you do if this is the case? If the case like this is given to you? Anyone want to say something? Okay. So as a good case solver, right? And what recruiters also expect from you in any case is some of these fundamental steps which you should be following. Clarify the problem. You should clarify the problem. Even before solving a problem, you should clarify it. Objective, you need to understand the exact objective which is expected from you in this case. Structuring the problem, create a framework. That framework could be a framework which you know from your theory. or you have created then and there. It doesn't matter where you're creating this framework from, but you should create a framework. You should show an approach. Okay, this is how I'm going to solve this problem. Analyze the data, analyze the facts given in this case, or ask the data, or ask the facts given in this case, and then analyze them, and finally recommend them. Right? So this is a step-by-step process which anyone would expect you to do. So let's start with the clarification. Clarification means, have you understood or heard the problem correctly? That is the first thing. So paraphrase the problem. That if I understood you correctly, CloudNova is considering a 2 billion investment in an AI-focused data center in Latin America to capture growing regional demand. My objective is to assess whether the object investment make strategic and financial sense, and if so, what condition or safeguards should be in place before proceeding. Is it a correct understanding? What you're doing, you're just paraphrasing whatever has been told to you, just to ensure that you have heard the problem correctly and you have not missed out any critical part of this case. That is the first thing you're doing. Second thing is, you're asking some clarifying question. You are asking some clarifying question in order to improve your understanding of the case. You're not solving this case. You're not giving a framework. You're asking clarifying question in order to improve your understanding of the case. What could be some of the good clarifying question in this particular case? Can somebody tell me? You can put it in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and tell me. What are some good clarifying question? What could be some good clarifying question? Anyone? You can put it in the chat. Don't worry. And again, as I said, right, there's no right or wrong thing, right? You just have to go out and take that risk, right? Don't worry too much about whether you're judged, misjudged. Nobody's evaluating you. It's a learning process, right? We are all learning together. I might be also wrong for multiple times. You should be correcting me, right? So engage with this discussion and you'll go away learning more. So yes, so my question is, what could be some of the clarifying question you might want to ask in order to improve your understanding of this case? This is a case statement. You can consider this also as a case statement. Anyone? Some clarifying question, guys? Please, guys, put on the chat or unmute yourself and tell. Okay, let's see some clarifying questions. These are some of the clarifying questions you could ask in order to improve your understanding of this case. One of the simplest clarifying question you should definitely, or you can ask always, is why do you want to do this? What is the objective behind doing, let's say, opening a data center in Latin America? That could be a very good question. Similarly, the other could be, what is the projected demand growth of AI cloud services in Latin America over the next 5 to 10 years? What is the demand is what you're asking. Do we have any committed contracts or anchor clients? Basically, who can take away, there is some contract or soft contract or EOI, expression of interest from any confirmed client that yes, they will buy your services. What are the expected operating costs, particularly energy prices? So now this is a very important thing you need to understand, that for any AI data center, a maximum cost component is energy. So you should know the energy prices, energy volatility in that region. And you should also understand some of the constraints, regulatory constraints, environmental constraints, any infrastructure constraint like electricity is there, not there, roads are there or not there, how is the law and order? All those things you may want to understand as a clarifying question. Now it is up to recruiter that they will give you this clarifying questions clarity, or if they are trivial, they say, okay, it's not required to know, or whatever they have, they will try to tell you. Okay. Now, next could be, so these are some of the good clarifying questions where you're trying to understand the business, you're trying to ask questions on the problem statement itself. If they have used some terminology, you're trying to ask them clearly what exactly they want to do. You're asking why question, why do they want to do it? All those clarifying questions you may want to check. Some of the bad clarifying question could be, what exactly is data center? Now you're supposed to know in this AI era, is AI important for the future? Very, very broad question. Can't we just build it somewhere else instead? I mean, they are right now. The problem statement focus is on Latin America. How big is Latin America? Yeah, these are some of the trivial questions which you should not ask. Otherwise, it doesn't give you a very good this thing. The next thing is objective, meaning even before you start solving the problem, you should specifically confirm from the recruiter ki what is that one thing or two thing which is supposed from you in this case. What is the outcome they are looking at from you in this case? That's a very good tactic to engage recruiter to clarify what exactly in the mind of recruiter, what is the expectation of the recruiter from you. So maybe you can ask, just to confirm, my objective is to evaluate whether CloudNova should invest $2 billion in the AI data center in America, in Latin America or not. And if so, determine the key condition required to make the investment financially and strategically viable. Is there any other objective? Now, once you state that, recruiter will come back with either say, okay, yes, this is what I want, or they say, no, 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 I don't want this. I just want you to do this, something like that, right? And then you are actually clear about the expectation, because you are ultimately going to be evaluated based on the expectation of the recruiter. It is a very good idea to understand what is the objective of this case, what is the expectation of recruiter from you, right? So that's what you need to do. That's why this is a very powerful, small, simple, but very powerful step, which all of you should take. Now, the third step is you need to come up with a structure. You need to come up with a framework. And when I say framework, it need not be that you have to have a ready-made framework for that. You might have to create a framework. What are the 3 to 5 factors would you look at? Would you analyze for deciding whether you invest in this particular data center or not? So can you tell me 3 to 5 factors? Right? Is there any factor? What are the 3 to 5 factors? I didn't say one factor. I said 3 to 5 factors, like a framework. Would you look at? Would you evaluate to analyze whether you want to invest or not? Is this investment necessary? What are the expected returns from this investment? Yes, that's a good question. And so that one question which is in the chat, that is this investment necessary? What are the expected? So they will say that you need to calculate the return. We will come to that. But they will ultimately say for this question that, you need to calculate the return. Our expected return is, let's say, X percentage. They can say that. Very good question. Yeah. So now my question is, if you have to create a structure on what are some of the 3 to 5 factors would you look at to analyze, to decide, to evaluate whether to invest in this or not? What could be those factors? Just give me headlines. 3 to 5 headlines. Again, you can put it in the chat. 3 to 5 things would you look at? The buckets would you look at? Factors would you look at to decide whether to invest there or not? It's as simple as this. If you have to invest in a business, what all things you will look at? So let's see some of those factors, right? So some of those factors, which I think this is a good starting point, is market attractiveness. How much is the demand? Risk return ratio, yes. Market attractiveness. What is the demand there? Is there any demand or not? We need to estimate that. We need to evaluate that. Economic and financial feasibility, as you said, right? What is the expected return? Operational feasibility. Will we be able to, deliver this, execute this or not? And strategic and risk condition. So what I'm trying to say that a good candidate will come up with a 3 to 4 factors from the business perspective, right? Which should be looked up before deciding whether to set up the AI data center or not. Always think in a framework, in a 3 to 4 comprehensive framework, which you would look at from the business perspective on whether you would invest in something or not. So market and attractiveness, how much is the demand, your viability, feasible viability, your operational feasibility, and some of the strategic and risk considerations, which we will discuss. Okay, so let's go through them one by one. You might want to now, they may ask, okay, what will you look at in market attractiveness? So basically what you are trying to understand is that, is there any sufficient and sustainable demand? What is the AI cloud demand growth in Latin America? What is the existing market? What is the growth? How much is the adoption of cloud AI cloud market, AI cloud demand, AI cloud in this region? What is the competitive landscape? How much is the existing capacity? Who are my competitors? What is the pricing power or customers' willingness to pay? What is the right now power pricing, and what are the specifications for those pricing? And what is the customer's willingness to pay, or what are their use cases where they might be using it? Okay, so this is something you want to understand before deciding something. Second is economic and financial feasibility, wherein you know that the capex is $2 billion, which is given in the problem statement itself. You need to calculate what is the expected revenue, what are the utilization rate, what is the cost, and more cost goes to energy and cooling and staffing. What is the sensitivity of your profit to different price volatility? What is the payback period or NPV or versus cost of capital? So you need to do a financial feasibility analysis using data, which we will discuss in some time. But we need to ask or get this data. Third is operation feasibility. Can we execute there? Can we tie up with power providers? What is the grid stability there? Can we have renewable power there? What is the availability of water? What are the constraints? What are the temperature there? Do we have talent there? Very important question in this kind of scenario. And what is the project timeline? What are the supply chain risks? Can we deliver our stuff there or not? Right? So these are the operation feasibility you may want to evaluate. And the last but most important and not the least is strategic risk and risk consideration. Will it help me in long term? What is the competitive advantage in having AI demand center or data center in that region? What is the strategic proximity to the customer? Will it, is this the market which in 10 to 15 years will go multiple X, right? What is the will I gain some knowledge or some capability while setting up this data center there, which will help me in future? And what are the regulatory and other ESG, environmental, power, energy risk? So these are some of the things would you like to analyze before you really decide whether to invest it or not. In this process, what you're showing is, as a person, that you can really structure it well. You can have a problem which is uncertain, which you have never heard, but you can break it down into pieces which are logical and which should be analyzed in this process. So you're showing your structure, which is very important. Now, next is analyze. You may ask this data from them and they may give it, or whatever data they have given you, you have to analyze it. They will ask you to analyze. So let's say they give you this data. They give you investment data, they give you revenue data, and they give you cost data. So the investment data is upfront capex $2 billion, useful life 15 years, cost of capital 10%. Yeah. Cost is target operating margin 30%, while major cost driver is energy, which is 40% of the operating cost. And your expected revenue is, first year it is lesser, $300 million, second year is $450 million, and then $600 million in the third year. And then the steady state is $600 million. I would like you to tell me, to start a simple question, what is the profit in third year onwards? If you see this data, what is the profit third year onwards? Absolute profit third year onwards. What would be the expected or target revenue, profit third year onwards? Can somebody calculate quickly and tell me with the given data? How will you calculate? This is a very simple calculation. Just wanted to know from you guys. So what is the profit third year onwards? Can you see this data and tell me? How will you calculate? So it's simple, right? 600 million is revenue and your target operating margin is 30%. So your revenue into margin, operating margin is your profit. So 600 into 30%, 180 million profit annually. So you're making $180 million profit annually after third year onwards. Okay. Hence, let's calculate the payback period. So payback period is total investment divided by what is your profit annually. So it is coming around 11.1, while the life is 15 years. So it looks good, right? That we, in whatever we are investing, we are getting back in 11 years. And let's say, because our life is 15 years, we have a good margin. We have a good ROI. Now, we have calculated payback period for the simple calculation. In real sense, it is a larger investment, and since it is for a longer point of time, you actually might calculate NPV and IRR, net present value and internal rate of return, for this type of questions. But for the ease of calculation and the explanation, I am using payback period. So you understand that, because 11 years or 15 years is a good time to consider time value of money as well, right? So your payback period is 11. Now there's a tricky thing. Let's say we need to also calculate something called sensitivity. And as you know that the most important sensitivity of this particular type of setup is energy prices. So let's say energy prices fluctuates. So right now we are making money, we are getting payback in 11 years. But let's say what happens, my revenue drops, my margin drops from 30% to 22%, because my energy prices have fluctuated. Let's say if that happens, then we need to calculate the again the profit, which is 130 million. If the payback rate, if you calculate now, it will be almost 15 years, which is like equal to your life of your plant or place, which is now tricky, because you don't want to say that this life, then you're not getting anything. Whatever you're invested, you're getting back in 15 years, and 15 years is the life of the project. So then there's no point of investing in that. So these are some of the scenarios you might be given to calculate and give some insights. So what are the insights we have looked at? That investment looks viable only if utilization hits 600 million steady state and energy remains stable. By the way, early years revenue is also lower. First year is $300 million, so your profit is 90 million. And so it is actually third year onwards is where you are getting 600. That 11 years is assuming that you have a steady state, revenue of 600 million from onwards. So it might affect further a bit more the payback rate, but let's say it could go till 12 years, right? So what winning candidates will do, they will calculate, they will adjust for the ramp up. This they will tell, okay, while I have calculated 11.1, it will be a bit more than 11.1. Highlight sensitivity to the utilization, that it is, I'm assuming that your profit margin remains 30% because energy prices and energy prices are not fluctuating, and you should recommend some risk mitigation. So let's see. With this, we'll go to recommendation. How will you recommend? What is your final recommendations? So some of the final recommendation point would be likely like this, that, and it should be data driven. Your synthesis of the problem statement, whatever you calculated, you should use that data to give a very good recommendation to this. So your recommendation could be, I would recommend proceeding cautiously, not immediately at full scale, because the investment is attractive but highly sensitive to utilization and energy costs. At steady state, which is 30% margin, the project generates $180 million annually with an 11-year payback, which is acceptable within a 15 years. But if the energy prices go to 22%, it payback period goes to 15 years, which is difficult to say that it is a good investment. And initially also there is a ramp up period in the year 1 and 2, which might delay the break even or the payback period. Now recruiter may ask, so what should we do if we must go and invest? You may say that we should definitely secure long-term contract, the demand from the anchor clients. That is one. Second, we need to anchor good energy sources which are cheaper and more importantly, which are not volatile. So we should lock in those and we should also tie up with renewable energy, because these are more sustainable in environmental sense also, and in price volatility sense as well. And adopt a modular build-up, right? Small. Don't invest upfront $2 billion. It's small, right? And that's how you should do it. These are some of the recommendations you might want to give. Yeah, any question? Any question you have, anyone? Great. Right? Yeah, Radha, you're correct. When you calculated 180 million was the correct answer. Okay. So this is how basically you want to follow any case. Clarify, objective, structure, analyze, and recommend. And your recommendation should be as much data driven, as much acknowledging the risk and what could be some of the mitigation strategy of that risk, which is very important to show that you think comprehensively like a business person. You're not just a person who just naively see the data and say this is what we should do. You also acknowledge the risk in that decision and try to give some mitigation strategy to risk. So last slide. So whenever you're solving a case study, listen, paraphrase your understanding. Do not jump to solve the problem. Show your approach. Take interviewer's hint. Think aloud. You might be stuck a lot of time. Think aloud. And if you get stuck, do not give up. Just press further. These are some of the action points. There are some of the resources which is given in our website. You can go and check it out. We also do one-to-one mentoring on mock interview, resume review, career conversation. We we are doing a lot of workshops. We have some recorded workshop also. You can always visit these things and take this thing of it. These are our workshop links. These are our courses links, which are recorded courses. Excuse me. Thank you so much for attending this session. I hope this was useful. If you have any doubt, I'm glad to answer them. And you can always connect with me on LinkedIn and we can interact there as well. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.